Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to this week's Mental Monday. Okay, so we have something major to talk about today, and it came out of nowhere, completely out of nowhere. I had a completely different video I was gonna put up today, still in the serial killer series, but with all of the stuff that happened last week, I had already planned on doing this video, and with that, I just felt like I needed to move it up and do it sooner than later. So we are going to talk about the East Area Rapist. And I call him that instead of the Golden State Killer because he's actually known by both names. Both names were used while he was active, depending on the area you were in. Before I get started, I do want to say this is going to go into detail to what he did, and it's kind of graphic. So if you are squeamish to that stuff, or if you are just not interested in knowing those details, if you have littles around that can't hear that right now, I totally understand. I just want to give you that warning. So now let's jump into it. Last week, the Sacramento County District Attorney's Office held a press conference. They had sheriff from a bunch of different areas surrounding Sacramento. They had the Sacramento District Attorney, and it was incredible. Everybody was excited. They thought something major had happened because they said they had major updates to the East Area Rapist / Golden State Killer cases. And if you don't know what those cases are, I'll try to explain what those were briefly, and then we'll get into the details a little later. So depending on where you lived, if you were in Sacramento, it was the East Area Rapist, because he was active, raping and killing, but mostly raping, in the East Sacramento area. In Visalia, he was known as the Visalia Ransacker. In the Bay Area, he was known as the Golden State Killer. He is also talked about as the original Night Stalker, which I also want to do a video on the Night Stalker that got that name, but this guy kind of did that before that. Gives you a little more of an idea of what was going on. And it was not till way more recently than I actually knew that those two were connected. I knew he'd been in several areas, and I didn't know the details of the other areas, but they're pretty much the same. The MO is extremely similar. It all fits. The areas that he was in thought they had 3 different people until they coordinated more and connected all 3. And from what I've heard, they profiled him as he was possibly an ex-police officer, possibly ex-military, and the person they arrested was. So I'll go into what he did, and then we'll talk about him getting arrested. This is going to be the more graphic part. In total, he had over 13 murders. He had around a dozen murders, over 50 rapes, and over 100 burglaries. In the East area, which is what I know the most about, it's what I heard the most stories about. He would break into homes, he would tie the husband or boyfriend up and make them watch him rape and attack the girlfriend or wife, and then leave them both tied up for the police to find. The murders only happened when things escalated. So if people fought back harder than he expected to where he couldn't avoid it, or things just physically got to that point, it would result in that. Otherwise, that wasn't what he was after. That wasn't his goal. And that is why in Sacramento, he was mostly known as the East Area Rapist, because that was what he did the most of. A little history on me. I actually grew up in that area. I grew up in Sacramento. I grew up hearing stories about the East Area Rapist. My mom actually used to tell me stories all the time about how scary it was. She would talk about what she knew about the case. Me and her really love that Criminal Minds, forensic files type of stuff. So we talk about any major cases like that. We really enjoy talking about it and kind of sharing our thoughts on it. So this was one that she had personal experience with. Not that she was attacked, but that it happened close to us. And she remembers when he was active in the 70s, and she's talked about it being scary and how nervous it made her. And she's told me stories about locking my uncle out of the house because she wanted to lock the door because she was scared. So I have heard about the East Area Rapist pretty much my whole life. And it's funny because a lot of people are just finding out about this case. It's really interesting to me because I've seen a lot of my friends posting, oh, I had no idea, I had never heard of him. And I'm like, what? Wow. I did not know how little people actually knew that much about the case. But, so he was active from 1974 to 1986. And that was in all of those areas. And after profiling him that way, they actually found out when they arrested the man that they found out it was, that he was a police officer in 2 different counties, each for 3 years. The last county he was fired from for stealing dog repellent and duct tape. So, if you think about it, what he was fired for stealing very much connects to his MO, very much connects to what he was doing. The very exciting update that pushed me to do this video sooner was on April 25th, 2018, the Sacramento District Attorney's Office and all of the counties that were involved announced they had made an arrest in the East Area Rapist Golden State Killer case. And they had arrested a 72-year-old man named Joseph James D'Angelo. He was an ex-police officer, and they connected him to 6 different counts of murder. If you understand our judicial system, rape has a statute of limitations, murder does not. So while they can't really directly get him on the rapes, they can get him to the murders that are connected to them. And that is huge. That's a huge way of connecting it. So they made this arrest. The profile was right. He was an ex-police officer. And it was with DNA evidence. So that physical evidence that they had collected, they were able to compare to something they had from Joseph D'Angelo. And that is where we are today. The investigation is still going on, so they have not released every single piece of information, but they have released a lot of information that is so intriguing and so encouraging for the strides we've made in physical evidence, in science, in being able to find out those details and connect the dots. It just was such a crazy moment to find out that they had made an arrest in this case, and I immediately went and told my mom. And I know that she was very, very interested and excited to find out that they had arrested the person, and we're kind of all interested to see what happens. That is this case. That is all of the details we know so far. That is everything that I have. I just was so excited to do this video when I heard all of that. I really, really wanted to do it earlier than I had planned, and I'm really glad that I did. So let me know if you have ever heard of this case before this happened, and what you think about them being able to solve the case 40 years later. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you have notifications on it. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.